Welcome back to another episode of the Next Level Minds podcast. My name is Chris Chapman, and I am your host. If this is your first time tuning in, then this is a podcast dedicated to those who want to reach a next level in their business, personal, or career life. And the way in which we help people do that is by interviewing entrepreneurs, founders, and just movers and shakers in their industry on how they really got from point A to point B and overcame various setbacks, adversities, and failures along the way to the journey of success, because as you know, there will be setbacks and adversities along the way, but the important thing is how you actually overcome these adversities and setbacks. So on this podcast, we walk through individual stories about how they actually did that. We also host solo episodes called Motivation Monday, where I personally talk a lot about various personal development related topics like goal setting, habit formation, finances, things of that nature. But today is going to be a guest episode. I am very blessed to be sitting down with Danny Miranda. Danny has an amazing and unique story that's very inspirational. He went through a very pivotal time in his life in 2019, which he'll touch on in a moment, where he overcame a lot of different adversities and essentially improved his life by doing a couple key habits, routines, and behaviors that he'll touch on this show. And since then, he's made a massive impact in the personal development world. He has a podcast that has had some of the biggest and best guests in the world. He's over 450 episodes deep into his podcast. He's got a book coming out. He also does a lot of coaching and meditation training to others as well. And Danny's just somebody, from what I can see on watching his things, as well as just a few conversations with him, that he's just very passionate about helping others. So I know he'll align great with this show because Next Level Minds, we are very passionate about helping help each other reach a next level, which I know he is extremely passionate about as well. But other than that, if you get value out of this episode, be sure to share it. Be sure to subscribe to Next Level Minds on Apple Podcasts. But let's go ahead and hear what Danny has to say. Danny, thanks so much, man, for hopping on the Next Level Minds podcast.
Thank you for having me, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you like living in Austin? I know you were asking me before we recorded, how do I like Charleston? So I figured I'd throw this question back at you.
There are some cities where it's like, this city is perfect for you. I feel that when I'm in Austin, it feels every time I touch down at the airport, I say, wow, this is where I'm supposed to be. The people here are so interested in creativity and entrepreneurship, in connection. It's a city built for me. I mean, I have a run club out here. I host a meditation every Sunday. So I just sprouted up these things because I like doing them, and apparently a lot of other people like doing them as well. So Austin, Texas is home for me.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the run club, because I have a couple buddies from college that live in Austin, and they're all doing the run clubs. I was like, that's got to be huge there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a men's run club, 7 a.m, Tuesdays, and it's really a joy to just get people together in community, just see the same people over and over. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and you started the meditation on Sundays, you said?
Yeah.
Nice.
I started a meditation. I had this idea where I wanted to just meditate with my friend. I thought it would be a fun idea, and then it's like, well, let me text my other friends, and now I got 20 people coming every Sunday to my apartment. It's just a wonderful way to just spread good energy.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of overlap with the run club and the meditation club, or is it kind of...
Some. I mean, I would say there's probably like 2 to 5 people who come to both.
Nice. And you're not from there originally. You're from, is it New York where you're from?
Yeah, Long Island, New York.
Nice. You still have family up there?
Yeah, I have family in New York, and the worst part about living in Austin is the fact that I can't see my family that often. But thankfully, I do find a way to see parents and brother once every month or two. So
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah. I know you talked about the run club, but do you have any cowboy boots living in Texas?
It's funny because my buddy just got some cowboy boots, and it's like I wasn't a Texan until I got some cowboy boots. I've yet to get some cowboy boots, but I'm looking forward to that day because that'll be the damn real Texan.
True Texan is doing the Tecovas boots and the run club. Same shoe, right? So,
Same running. You have to run in the boots.
in the boots. Yeah, I love it.
I don't know if you saw this dude. I think his name's Truett Haynes.
I don't think so.
He ran the Austin Marathon. This is Cameron Haynes. He's a big runner and bow hunter. It's his son. Truett Haynes ran the Austin Marathon in not boots, but in jeans. And he ran a 245, sub 245 in jeans. This jack dude. This is the same guy who broke David Goggins' record for most pull-ups in 12 or 24 hours. So absolute savage. But I saw that this past week. I was like, oh my God. There's some people just built different.
Dude, that is insane to be able to do that in jeans, especially like sub 245. Like that is ridiculous.
Yes.
Especially
Incredibly
that
impressive.
size too. If he's strong enough to be able to do all those pull-ups, like, dude, you're moving some weight that fast. So
Yeah. Beast. Absolute beast.
cool, man. Well, I know you got, an extremely popular podcast. You've had some awesome guests on there like Gary Vee, Alex Hormozy, Andy Frisella, John Gordon, just to name a few of many hundreds. And I know you got the meditation club, you're writing a book, you got a lot going on, right? But before you dive into all that, I would love if you could take us back to, about that like 2018, 2019 timeframe, because I believe from my research, like that was a very pivotal moment in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's fascinating because all the things that I'm doing now, there was this sense that I had the potential to do those things. And I would imagine someone listening to this podcast right now is also feeling like I have this potential inside of me that I can create a reality for myself that is that I enjoy doing every day, that is in line with what I'm here to do on this planet. And I had this sense, but I also had this knowing that I wasn't doing the things every day that were in line with the person that I wanted to be. And so there was this kind of cognitive dissonance that would happen where it'd be like, I know I'm capable of so much. And then my day-to-day actions was like gambling, going to the bar, drinking. I'm like, why am I? And then there would be some aspects where I'm going to the gym as well, but it's not like I'm actually making progress. So I'm thinking there, am I lying to myself? What's going on? How is this not happening for me? Why am I not doing the things that are good for me over and over and over again? And it got to a point where I was working this job that I didn't like, and I was making a lot of money. So that was kind of like pulling me back into it. But at some point I had enough. At some point I got so depressed and so upset and so sick of myself and sick of my excuses that I had a bunch of money saved up and I quit the job. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do from here? And in that place, I was like, I'm going to meditate every day. That's what I said to myself. And then I started Googling things to do every day, and I stumbled upon 75 Hard. And when I stumbled upon 75 Hard, my whole body lit up. I don't know if you've had this experience where it's just like, yes, I'm supposed to do this. Maybe it was for this podcast. Maybe it was for other things in your life, but it's like, yes, this is right for me. This is so right. And so I did it, not knowing Andy Frisella or anything I would find out and figure out about him. But it was in this dark place of I'm working this job that I don't like and I need to figure out a way out. And I don't understand why I'm doing this job. Well, I do get it, but I don't like that I'm doing it. And then quitting it and then finding 75 Hard the next week. And then the process of becoming an expanded version of myself and then contracting and then expanding and then contracting. That was really the point for me where I saw what an expanded state for myself looked like for the first time after doing 75 Hard.
Yeah, man, I love that. And I love the first part that you mentioned too about, you go out for drinks and gamble and all this stuff, but you were still going to the gym, but it wasn't actually like tackling that purpose. And I totally get that because sometimes I will, like sleep in, or sometimes I'll have a few too many beers on a Saturday, like just one off. And it's like, I not only feel just like physically horrible, but I feel like mentally horrible. And it's like, why is that? It's like, well, those behaviors don't match who you're supposed to be and, the potential. So I thought that was super cool that you mentioned that because I feel like that's where that feeling comes from. It's like, you're not acting in alignment,
Yeah. And deep down that you're capable of more.
Yeah.
And so it's so frustrating when you see yourself do the same thing over and over and over again. I'm capable of more. I'm capable of more. But at the same time, you don't know if you're lying to yourself. You don't know if are you really capable of more, because your actions are not showing that, and you haven't proven. I hadn't proven to myself I could do something difficult. I mean, that 75 hard was the first time in my life where I was overcoming something and being able to complete something on a consistent basis. It was the hardest thing I had done in my life up to that point. And it was when I really noticed, wow, I can do this, and I can do this on a consistent basis. And I see myself growing, and I see life changing because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And for those of you, most everybody knows what 75 Hard is, listening to Next Level Minds. But for those that don't, can you kind of elaborate on what the program is? Because I think that'll kind of help shape how it shaped you.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a 75-day program created by Andy Frisella, which for 75 days straight, you do two 45-minute workouts. One of them has to be outside. You drink a gallon of water. You read 10 pages of a nonfiction book. You take a progress picture, and you follow a diet with no alcohol or cheat meals involved. And I looked at that and I was like, well, I know I can do this for one day. I know I could do this. And then it was, I could do this for a week. Oh, I could do this for a month. Oh, I could do this for a month, 2.5 months. Wow. And then once you have that in your everything you do that's difficult, that expands you, you then have a version of yourself that's like, oh, well, I know I'm capable of that, which creates an expanded level of more confidence and more awareness that you are who you think you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that's funny you mentioned that, because I'm training for like a 10K run, which isn't really that far, but like I want to get a good time, right? So I got that coming up in April, but last Saturday I ran 10.5 miles just so when I go do like the 6.2 and try to get a good pace, I can constantly just tell myself, yeah, I've been here before. I've done almost double this on my training, and your body's just going to recognize like I can do this. And I like what you mentioned about like just one day at a time with 75 hard. I think I've heard Ed Milet talk about like his dad going sober and talking about like just one more day, one more day, one more day. And I think that's true with a lot of things, whether it's like discipline and habits and anything you're trying to get accomplished, of like just tackle that one day and progress from there.
It gets so overwhelming, when you have these big goals, when you know your potential, when you know you are somebody who can do big things, it gets overwhelming. And I think for a lot of people who want to do big things in life, we look at one day's worth of work, and if it's not enough, then we don't want to do it. So the example is like, okay, if I told you to do 15 minutes of running, and you want to run a 6-mile race, you'd be like, dude, 10 minutes of running, what's that actually going to do? Right. And so for me, what I found that 75 hard did was it allowed me to check things off. When I checked off, what we underestimate in our heads when we say 10 minutes of running or 15 minutes of running is you get something to check off. And when you check something off, that feels good. And so you do anyone could take a progress photo. And so you check that off. Now you're in someone who completed 1 out of 5 tasks on the list. Okay, I did that. Can I do 10 pages of reading? Okay, that's 2 things off the list. Now you're building, and now you don't look at that list and you say, I don't want to get the other 3 things done. No, you say, I already have 2 things done. And it's not even 9 a.m. yet. So I think the more you can build in those things of small wins, small progress, the more likely you are to do that 10-mile run. Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And from my understanding, when you completed 75 hard, didn't you like go back on some old habits or something like that? Went right back. And but the crazy part is I went deeper into the darkness than I was, or as equivalent into the darkness as I was before I started the program, because now I had actual proof of this is who I could be, and I'm not living up to this every day.
Yeah.
And I don't have standards for myself that I'm hitting every day. I'm just like, I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, it was real dark because I had proof. I had proof I was capable of accomplishing so much every day for myself. Now I'm not. Now I'm drinking. Now I'm gambling again. Now I'm like, what? How could this happen? How could I slide back so hard? And I think one thing that 75 Hard didn't teach me to do, but that I've learned is to have compassion for myself and compassion for myself when I fall. I was drinking for the first time on Saturday night in like a year and a half. And on Sunday I was shot and I didn't write my book, and I've been writing every day. I was like, you know what? It's okay. And on Monday I wrote my book. And on Tuesday I wrote my book. And today I wrote my book. But the version of me in December of 2019, there's no way. I'm turning that into a whole like story about how I'm not capable, how I'm bad, how I'm wrong, how none of that. Just, okay, I drank, I made a decision that I'm content with, and we move on.
Yeah. So it's almost like it's kind of helped you find some balance in living, right?
Yeah, I would say 75 Hard has not didn't help me find balance, but the other things in my life have, where it's like the compassion for myself comes from meditation. The holding myself with grace and compassion comes from reading a lot of Wayne Dyer. And David Hawkins. There's been other aspects of my life that have helped fill in the gaps where I was getting mad at myself from 75 Hard.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And so you did 75 Hard, I believe September 2019 is when you started, finished December 2019, which you just alluded to. And then shortly after that started the podcast, which I believe started from just talking with some friends and then recording the conversations?
I put out on Twitter in June or July of 2020, who wants to talk on the phone? And I had about 5,000 followers at the time, my only social media platform. And there were people, this was peak COVID, so people left and right at home wanting to connect with people online. I was having these amazing phone conversations. And then I was like, I should record these. There might be someone who likes to listen to this. And I did. I recorded them. And then I love doing this. It was an instant, that same feeling of, yes, I'm supposed to do this. This is very important. And so I started recording them and publishing September 2020, a year after the 75 Hard began for me.
Nice. And it all just started from like having a smaller online community, recording some conversations, and then kind of scaling them out from there. How did you kind of grow the show quickly and like getting these bigger guests? Because I've been fortunate to have some bigger guests too, but like you've definitely had like a steady arsenal of guests. And there are a lot of podcast hosts that actually listen to this show too. So just kind of wondering like your tips there and what you did to maybe differentiate.
I understood. Well, I got kind of lucky, and I understood something that was very important for me at that time, which is Twitter was the best place to get podcast guests. And I enjoyed Twitter, so that was kind of part of it. But I realized that if somebody sends you a message or ats you on a platform, from my vantage point, this is my own bias, subjective opinion, I am most likely to read that message if it's on Twitter. For whatever reason. Someone ats you on TikTok, somebody ats you on Instagram, somebody ats you on LinkedIn, versus someone ats you on Twitter. For me, I feel that people were most likely to read your mentions on Twitter. And so I understood that, and I hammered that. And so I would post progress on Twitter. I would create a community on Twitter, and I enjoyed Twitter the most out of all the platforms anyway. I'm naturally a writer. I'm naturally somebody who gravitates towards that. Twitter felt like an authentic place for me. I muted all the political terms. I just stayed in my lane. I'm there for wisdom. So I created friendships there. I created a community there, and I was building the podcast on Twitter, which meant that I had access to the guests that I respected the most and I admired the most because they were also on Twitter. So that's kind of how I would say the platform has built. Yeah, so that was my little edge, I would say, at the time.
Yeah, and I like that you just kind of cut through the noise because there's like emails and Instagram and Facebook and like there's so many different mediums, right? But you're like, wait, this is a unique one that I think I can get some attention on. So I think that's a little nugget that you shared there of like for the folks that are listening, whether you're in sales or business and you're trying to reach somebody, like think about a different medium that you can utilize to get their attention rather than just the standard like email.
100%. And I think for me, growing, if I were to mentor someone on building a social media audience, I would say, what is the platform that you enjoy spending time on the most? And imagine for a second that you could only spend time on this platform and create on this platform. Let that be your sole focus. Go balls to the wall at this platform. Focus all of your attention on it, because if you go to all the different, and I fell into this trap, and I'm happy with the way that I did it, but focus on one. I really think that is really beneficial if you're just starting out.
Yeah. And to build that community, do you find that kind of common problem that everyone's dealing with and then create solutions around that? What's your approach there?
My approach was, let me document my journey. I'm building this podcast, and let me share along the way the wins, the losses, the in-betweens, how I'm getting guests, what I'm doing along the way. How can I be as transparent as possible on the process? How can I connect with as many people as possible? How can I spread my energy to people? I've never been an over engineer. I'm sure I could create a target avatar and help somebody, but for me, I was like, let me be most me, as me as I can be online. That's what I want to be on Twitter. That's what I want to be on the internet. So that's kind of how I thought about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like the authenticity there. I think that's also a separator in today's day and age,
Yeah, and more, it will continue to be as you have more people thinking about artificial intelligence. It's like, okay, who is the human? Where's the human in this equation? Humans will always love humans. No matter how often you use ChatGPT or Google things, you're going to want to talk to humans. You're going to want to be with humans. You want to be connected with humans. That will not stop. That has always been true. So I will bet on that. And I believe that we are going to always be looking for people who are really human and who can connect with us and understand us at a deep level.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I like what you said about documenting the journey as well. Like I'll throw a lot of content out there on Instagram, and I think the stories of mine that perform the best are the ones where I'm just like, hey guys, doing this today, this happened, but boom, this is what I'm doing about it, rather than like the 3 tips to accomplish your goals, right? It's funny how it works,
Well, think about it from a friend, right? Like think about if your friend like literally came up to you and was like, you just saw him in the parking lot, and he came out of his car, and he was like, 3 tips to accomplish your goals. You'd be like, dude, like, hello, nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Like, how you doing? You know, what's going on in your world? He would just never treat a friend like that. So like, why are you treating a social media audience like that? Or why would you would never send a message like that to your friends? Yeah. So, and if you would, then send it,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's funny. Just walking up randomly to somebody, hey, check this out. Yeah.
And so the things that I post, I would send to my friends.
Yeah.
And I use that as a filter.
Yeah.
Where it's like, me on podcast, me podcast clips. Like I would send this to all my friends. So I'm going to send it to all the people on social media.
Yeah. Last podcast question for you about your show. Again, you've had some tremendous guests on. I love your approach. Very conversational. For those listening to Next Level Minds, you would love the Danny Miranda show. So definitely go check that out. But what are some kind of commonalities you've seen just in the people you've interviewed? Because that's a question I get a lot, because they're like, oh, you've interviewed like 200 something guests. Like, what are common success rates? And it's like, I don't really know how to answer that, but like, I'm wondering if you had any introspective thoughts of like commonalities you see among these people.
Yeah, I think the people that I'm attracted to and the people that I'm interested in all have followed their heart and all have asked themselves, what makes me me? And how can I be more of that? Whether that's a writer, an author, an entrepreneur, a speaker, everybody was asked themselves, what do I enjoy? What do I enjoy doing? What's real to me? What's true to me? And how do I do more of that? And how do I share that with more people? That feels like a very strong commonality. between everyone I speak to.
Yeah, that's such a good point because the ones I'm referencing in the couple shows I've listened to of yours, the guests have just shown like so much passion and drive to what they're doing, and it's like, oh well, they're following their heart, they're doing them, you know?
Yeah. I think it's such an important attribute for personally for the life that I want to live is
Yeah.
what is my heart saying and am I listening?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I stalked your LinkedIn last night and I was like scrolling pretty deep on there and I saw this post about a solo trip. So you posted a photo of like a cabin. And I've done one of those as well. And, but not a week. I did like a day and I was like, all right, like, let me get back to civilization. Right. But like, what was your like learning lessons throughout that and the importance of it?
So I did the first one of those in August of 2020, about a month before I started the podcast. And I remember I put down a list of in a journal. So to set the scene, I mean, I was doing 60 minutes of meditation a day. And this is 60 minutes straight where I was just sitting with my thoughts, whatever came up. I would set a timer, 60 minutes. And then I was doing that for 2 months. It was a 60-day challenge. I completed that. I kept doing it in June, July, enjoyed it all. And then I was like, I can go deeper on myself. And so I said, I'm going to do 5 days of meditation where I don't look at my phone. I don't look at computer. I don't have Wi-Fi. I'm just a lone cabin in the woods. That's it. So I booked this Airbnb in Pennsylvania, this beautiful spot. It's like a small cabin connected to a main house, just alone, quaint in the middle of nowhere. And my mission was to understand myself deeper and to spend time with myself and to bring my old journal entries and to bring books that I wanted to read. I got so deep on myself and deep on what I wanted and what I cared about over those 5 days. And I brought, 5 pounds of rice, 5 pounds of turkey, had the same meal every day, a bunch of fruit. And I would take walks and I would meditate an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, go on runs, read, write. And I remember creating lists of different people that I was going to reach out to for my podcast that I hadn't created yet. It was so clear to me, oh, I'm supposed to create this podcast. Oh my God, it has never been more obvious. And I remember the first day I was kind of like, the first 2 days I was adjusting and I don't like this. I want it to be different. I want to get back to civilization. After day 3, it was so different. I felt so at peace in my surroundings. I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. 3rd, 4th days, huge unlocks and insights. The 5th day, I remember driving back home and feeling so excited about life with this knowing of exactly what I was supposed to do. Okay, I'm going to execute on this project in this moment and do this thing here and so, oh my God, I've never had this level of confidence, clarity, understanding for anything in my life. And I wish everyone had that level of hope and optimism about where they were going. That's what I remember thinking on the drive back. So yeah, it was a very impactful trip. I did it again 2 or 3 years later. It wasn't as impactful as the first time, but it's definitely something that I want to do at least once a year.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. I love that you just like kept the meal the same as well, keeping it real simple. What questions do you suggest people ask themselves for like self-awareness, right? Like I had somebody reach out to me today actually on Instagram and they were like, can't really figure out what I want to do, right? And like they're like, do you have any common questions I should ask? And I was like, it's not that simple, but like what's maybe a good starter point,
Oh man, this is my entire life. This is like answering this question is one of the most important questions to me. So there are a couple of things. One is, what are you really pained by? And what are your problems right now? If you understand your problems, the problems that you've had, or the problems that you are currently having, you can figure out what you are supposed to teach and what you are supposed to help others grow into in the future. So it's like, what's your pain? We got to focus on what is the pain that you are dealing with or what is the pain that you have dealt with in the past. The other really important one is what is lighting you up? And maybe you're asking this question because nothing is lighting you up, but I would guess that there is something that is lighting you up and you're feeling more energy from, and you haven't given yourself permission to make that more of your life. So, for example, for me, the conversations I was having with people were lighting me up. And how do I make my day more of these conversations? Well, you could record a podcast, right? That is one way. But there's also a world in which I say to myself, oh, okay, podcast, everyone has a podcast. That's not practical. That doesn't make sense. How are you supposed to make money from that? Nobody makes money from a podcast. What are you doing creating a podcast? So just notice that I said, yes, I'm going to create a podcast because I enjoy having conversations with people. And I could have said, what's wrong with you? You're not going to make money doing a podcast. So where in your life are you blocking your joy? Right? There's joy that you are having, but then you're not allowing yourself to live in it. Perhaps it's going to the bar. Perhaps you enjoy drinking and it genuinely brings you joy. Okay. Like maybe you're supposed to be a bartender. Maybe you're supposed to own a bar. Like if you didn't judge yourself, what would you create? If you had 10 times more agency, 10 times more resources, what would you create? So I think asking this question is so important, because when we don't ask this question and we don't answer it correctly, we end up living a life that we regret. And we end up getting to the end of our lives upset and wishing we did something different.
Yeah. And you're living someone else's dream too, if you don't do that, right?
That's right.
What's your thoughts on this? Do you think your vision can shift? Like, because you're doing the podcast, right? But like, what if in 5 years you're like, you know what? Now it's going to be X, Y, Z. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Dude, I mean, my vision has shifted with the podcast itself.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely think your vision can shift. And I think that you need to have a vision in order to feel content on the day to day.
Yeah.
The person that you are has to be in alignment with the person that you want to be. And you have to allow grace for your vision to shift because you don't know. So for me, for example, with the podcast, I had this dream of building the biggest podcast in the world. So I enjoy having conversations. This is the best way to have conversations. I want to build the biggest podcast in the world. I realized at some point I was not the podcast. And actually, I enjoyed having conversations that were being recorded even more than I enjoyed conversations that were being recorded. What do you do then? Do you live in the identity of the person that you've created just because you've said you're that type of person? Or do you have the flexibility to say, you know what? I know I said I was this person, but actually I didn't know myself as well as I know myself today. And I enjoy having conversations today, and I enjoy having conversations that are not being recorded even more. Because people are realer, because I'm not performing in any way, and I'm not performing in any way right now, but it's a different conversation potentially that we would have if it was just me and you alone in a room. Right?
For sure.
And so I realized that about myself, that I enjoy having conversations with the cameras off just as much, if not more. And so that shifted my identity.
And you had grace to step into that newer vision, right?
Correct. Which was around coaching and doing retreats and helping corporations do workshops, right?
Yeah.
These were things that I blocked off from what I was allowed to do because I said to myself, I'm the podcaster. I only do podcasts. But that wasn't true. That was just the story that I was living in.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, man. Well, you've also kind of stepped into the book journey too. You referenced it a little bit ago. Divine Moments is the name of the upcoming book, correct?
Yes, that's right. I mean, this book it's so funny because I had a friend a few years ago who was like, you should write a book on the crazy stories that happened to you in your life. And a few years later, writing a book on the crazy stories that happened to me in my life. So Divine Moments is this book that I'm writing that is about the magic of life and creating more awe and beauty in the magic that you experience every day. And how do you do that? How do you, this goes back to blocking the joy, right? How often do we experience a magical moment and we say to ourselves, I don't want to, it's not a big deal. Oh, who cares? I mean, you just did this or that, or this just happened to you. Can you live in the excitement and the joy of that? That's what I want to really get across, that life can be a magical experience. Life can be an awesome experience. Life can be a beautiful experience, but you have to recognize it as such, and you have to continually make it conscious on your awareness that that is what you are doing with magnificent moments in life.
And just having that, going back to that theme you mentioned earlier of like the reflection time and recognizing the moments, right?
I mean, that's a huge part of it. I created this log in my phone called Divine Moments Log. And every day, it seems like it is every day almost, I write down a moment from the day that filled me with awe. Oh my God, this happened. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And it could be small moments of connection, big moments, but every day I find some way to realize how divine a moment that I experienced was.
Yeah. And you're just referencing that, and then you're putting that all in the book, right?
So the book is a combination of specific stories and how you can create that in your own life as well.
Oh, nice. So it's got a lot of like practical stuff in there on what others. Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Don't you have, well, I don't want to spoil anything from the book, but like I read something about you running like a marathon and something with your grandfather. Wasn't that one of the big divine ones as well?
Yes. This is the story of how I came to God.
Oh, dude, I love that. One of the values of Next Level Minds is faith, by the way. So feel free to share that if you want.
Yeah, amazing. So, wow. Yeah. So in December of 2023, I was running my first marathon, and how this marathon came to be was my dad ran one marathon in his life in Memphis, Tennessee, the St. Jude's Marathon. This was in 2013, was he signed up for it for the first time. And my friend calls me in May of 2023 and says, hey, do you want to run a marathon in December? I said, I haven't ran since high school, so I don't know. He's like, well, it's the St. Jude's Marathon, and it's in December. I was like, the St. Jude's Marathon? My dad ran the St. Jude's Marathon, and it's the only marathon he ever ran in his life. And we have no connection to Tennessee, but he decided that's where he was going to run his marathon.
Wow.
And I said, okay, I'm going to do that because that seems divine in and of itself. So I signed up for the St. Jude's Marathon. I started training in probably July, August, around that time. And my grandpa had ran marathons his whole life. And my grandpa's name is Richard. And I ask him and call him the week before the marathon and say, hey, Poppy, what should I do? What should I think about for my first marathon? What do you think? Do you have any advice for me? I said, well, mile 21 to 23 is going to be the most difficult for you. So just pay attention to that. I said, thanks, Grandpa. Appreciate it. Love you. Talk soon. Talk to you after the race. So my grandpa, Richard, he's just a phenomenal guy, role model, hero of mine, and just incredible guy. So I said, mile 21 to 23, let's go. I'm coming. Ran the St. Jude's Marathon. It was amazing. Felt so good. Was doing incredible. And then mile 21 comes about. And I could start to feel it. I'm slowing down. We're running through a park. And I'm like, oh my God, my grandpa was right. Okay. As I'm thinking this, and as I'm finished running through the park, this guy comes up to me who is running in the race, the only person to speak to me in the race. He's running as well. And he turns to me and he says, hey, do you want any water? Then he said, you want any food or nutrition? And I'm like, this dude is so kind. This dude's running in the race and offering somebody else running some food and water. Like, who do you have to be? You have to be a saint to do that. He could see I was struggling probably.
Yeah, he's like, this guy needs help. Yeah.
And so I'm running with him. We start running together and talking, and he likes podcasts, so I tell him about my podcast, and he's like, "Oh wow, that's super cool." And we have a great flow and great conversation. And then I thought we were going to run to the finish line together because it just felt like we were running together forever and felt like we were just going to keep the same pace. But mile 23 comes about and he runs away. And I was like, what just happened? Just ran away. And it turns out, of course, that his name is Richard.
Wow.
And so my grandpa Richard gave me the advice that mile 21 to 23 was going to be the most challenging. And here I am running with one guy who speaks to me in the race and then leaves at the exact moment my grandpa told me. And that was Richard. And so what I took from that, in that moment, I shifted from I don't believe in God or I don't know about God to I know God. I experience God. That was absolutely insane.
Dude.
Could you imagine? So, yeah, man, I mean, that experience was so pivotal for me in helping me understand just about how everything is connected.
Yeah.
And it was just a special moment that I'll never forget. Shout out Richard Mayberry and Richard Stallone.
Man, dude, that's an amazing, incredible story. And I think there is so many intricate activity points, right? The mile 21 to 23, and then his name also being Richard, and then him running away or probably running faster than you because you're struggling, right? At like 23. And it's like, man, that's God's like just divine being right there too, right? And I think, he puts different people, processes, things in your life for a reason. That's a prayer I actually pray a lot, is like put the right people, places, and things in my life. And so it helps me look for divine situations and be open to it because he's probably put that there. Whether it's like a person at the grocery store that just comes up to me or whether it's, this place or thing. I think it's a pretty interesting one to say.
1000%. And if you can recognize that everything that comes into your field is divinely orchestrated,
yeah,
you have a lot more peace in life. I mean, if you get hit in an accident, it's like, okay, why did God put this person in my life? Right? And how can I serve? How can I serve this person in this moment? And just consistently throughout a story from this is, I remember I was going to a Giants Vikings game in New York. I grew up a Vikings fan. And kind of after having this realization about God and understanding of God, I go to a Giants Vikings game, and the Vikings are about to score a touchdown, and I'm a Vikings fan, and so I stand up, and the Giants fan behind me is like, starts screaming at me like, "Hey, you asshole, sit down!" And I have some French fries in my hands, and I'm like, "Would you like some French fries?" And he was like, "What just happened?" Like genuinely, like, "Would you like some French fries?" Because I view this person as a child of God.
Yeah.
And so how would I treat a child of God? It's like, would I scream in his face? Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you yelling at me? Like, I just want to see this touchdown.
Yeah.
Or would I say, like, "Hey, would you like some French fries?" Like, let me give something to you.
And his reaction, did he take any fries out of that, or was it?
He said, "No, I'm good."
Yeah, he said, "I'm good."
He said, "No, I'm good," but his energy was completely different. Right?
Yeah.
"No, I'm good." Versus, like, how do you yell at the person who's telling you, "I love you"? Like, this person loves me, so why would I get upset? How it feels wrong to get upset at the person who says, "I love you."
Yeah.
And how can you show that even when you're hurt?
Yeah. So is that kind of your mentality with, I guess, like, I don't know, quote unquote, bad things that happen to you, like a fender bender or a stub toe? Like, is it just, this is divine and orchestrated?
I've seen it too many times for it not to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I lost my watch one time before going for a run, and I never lose my watch. And as I'm losing my watch and looking for it, I say to myself, wow, this is really special. I've lost my watch right now. It's somewhere in my apartment, and I know this is creating a situation that wouldn't have happened if I didn't lose my watch. I'm supposed to lose my watch, and I'm so grateful for it. Mm-hmm. I find my watch. I go on a run. As I go on the run, I see one of my favorite podcasters, and he's walking, and I'm running. And I stop, and I say, hey, man, dude, you've inspired me so much. Thank you for all the podcasts you've recorded. It's like, I've done over 400 podcast episodes, and you've been a big inspiration. He tells me, oh, I'm recording episode 400 tonight, actually. And it's with Elon Musk. I was like,
wow.
I was like, I'm the last person this person is going to speak to before they speak to Elon Musk.
Right.
I couldn't have created that situation. I lost my watch for the first time in a year. You understand?
Yeah.
Like, when you experience it enough times, you don't doubt. You just know that everything that happens to you is divinely orchestrated, even the things that you don't like. Those are all for you in ways you can't see yet.
Yeah, dude. And just the simple, like, maybe if you'd have left at, I don't know, 5:15 for the run, you'd got hit by a car at 5:17 or something weird like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's right.
And
I mean, it's interesting when it's the negative, but like when it's so clearly the positive for the thing that you didn't like, it is so fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I need to work on that myself, actually. I mean, it's something I think about and I believe in, but like, I don't know, like a small negative thing, I get frustrated for like 5 seconds and then I'm over it, right? But I'm like, there's no point to get even that 5 seconds of frustration. So
right, it's wasting your energy, wasting your time for something you could have been missing in those 5 seconds.
Yeah, and just the divine, opportunities that are out there and orchestration that God's doing that you don't see in the back end, like you mentioned. When did your book come out? I know you're crushing through it, but when does it come out? Do you have an ideal date and time, or?
I don't have an ideal date yet, since I don't know how long the process is going to be, but I'm excited to move it at an expedited timeline.
Yep.
In terms of, if I did a traditional publisher, it would be, 2027, late 2026, I would imagine, for the way that it works. I'm like, how can I get it done this year? Maybe it's this summer. Maybe it's this fall. I don't want to set any arbitrary timelines that are so deep when I know I can control me writing this book, and I can control how fast it gets edited, and I can move it along. So
yeah. Do you have a team that's helping you write it, or is it just you running after it, or?
A team is coming after me. It's fascinating. So like somebody sends me a message like, "Hey, I'm an editor." One woman I got on a call with, she's like, "I've never edited a book before, but I'd love to edit your book." Of course, if it's a book called Divine Moments, it has to have a divine situation that gets this into the hands of people, and so it's all coming about organically.
Oh, nice! I love that, and yeah, it aligns with that book title of Divine Moments. So
has to be.
Man, what else you got going on, and where can people connect with you? Because like I said, plug your podcast, but I mean, there's so much you're doing that I want people to know about.
Yeah, I think the best way to get in contact with me is at Hey Danny Miranda on X or Instagram. What I got going on is just how can I help people tune into themselves. And so if you would like to tune into yourselves, I recommend just taking 10 minutes after this podcast is over and just close your eyes and just be with yourself. We spend so much time in other people's worlds and other people's ideas and other people's perspectives, which I love. I love people, but I also love myself. And I also know I can't bring myself to other people unless I have a full cup. So I recommend just spending time with yourselves, understanding who is it that you are, and just clear the gunk, clear the layers, clear the things that are getting in the way. And you could do that with just spending 10 minutes with yourself. So.
Yeah, dude. And that reminds me, I wanted to ask about meditation.
Yeah.
So where's a good spot for people to get started? Is it like a soundtrack, just 10 minutes silence? Like, what are your thoughts there?
So I'm going to be releasing guided meditations. That's something that I'm going to start doing. But I would recommend a couple of different things. One is my friends just launched a breathwork app today, and that's Coherence Breathwork. I highly recommend it. I mean, I'm probably going to be using it every day. I use Insight Timer as well to track my meditation, but the Coherence Breathwork app I think is going to be a big deal. So that launched today, brand new, and it's a great way to just tune into your breath. We all, no matter what religion you are, you breathe.
Yeah.
And so this is so important, and I just want more people to be conscious of how they're breathing and what their breath and manipulating your breath can do. And that's a great way to tune into yourself. So yeah. I recommend that.
And it's called Coherence for that app you just mentioned?
Yes, Coherence.
Cool. Awesome, brother. Well, dude, this is an awesome conversation. I expected it was going to be amazing, but it was even better than I originally anticipated. So appreciate all you're doing. Guys, definitely check out the Danny Miranda podcast. Definitely check out Danny on X as well as Instagram, and then his book as well. Definitely keep following along with that because I'm pumped to read it when it comes out. But yeah, man, thanks again for hopping on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate your questions, thoughtfulness, and appreciate your energy as well.
Well, that's it, everyone. Thanks again for taking the time to tune into this week's episode of Next Level Minds. Be sure to connect with Danny. Be sure to check out the Danny Miranda Show as well. Honestly, if you like Next Level Minds, you'll get a ton of value out of the Danny Miranda Show because we have similar mindsets. And frankly, he's had some epic guests on there, so you'll want to check that out. Otherwise, I really hope everybody has a fantastic week ahead. Keep listening, keep showing some love to the show, and thanks again for all the support you've already given. Let's make it a great week.